What does it take to actually fight a tyrannical government? For decades, Star Wars has told us that it's about the chosen ones with lightsabers. But what if the real answer is more complicated and a lot more ordinary? A recent TV show set in a galaxy far, far away gives us one of the most realistic portrayals of insurgency ever put to screen. It shows that rebellions aren't won by heroes, they're won through organization, ideology, and incredible sacrifice. Today, we're talking about the political science of Andor. Welcome to Small Screen's Big Issues, the series where we explore political science through the lens of film and television. Andor is more than just a spy thriller. It's a brilliant case study in how resistance to authoritarianism actually works. In this episode, we're going to use the show to explore three key stages of a successful insurgency. First, the nature of oppression that creates the need for rebellion. Second, the ideological spark that turns apathy into action. And third, the profound moral compromises required to win. For those who haven't seen it, Andor is the prequel to the movie Rogue One, which itself leads directly into the events of the very first Star Wars film. Andor follows a cynical thief, Cassian Andor, living under the thumb of the vast bureaucratic galactic empire. Crucially, there are no Jedi here. This is a story about ordinary people, mechanics, politicians, and disillusioned soldiers, and the slow, grinding process that leads them to risk everything to fight back. You don't need to be a Star Wars junkie to understand the story. You just need to understand how power works. So first, what kind of oppression are we talking about? In much of Star Wars, the Empire is just evil. But Andor is more specific. It shows us that true tyranny isn't about stormtroopers or superweapons, it's about bureaucratic control and surveillance. The show's antagonists aren't cackling villains. They're ambitious bureaucrats like Dedra Meero, who uses data-driven surveillance to crush dissent. The academic concept here is the surveillance state, where a government monitors its citizens to preemptively stop resistance. This mirrors real-world systems like East German Stasi or China's modern surveillance regime, where control is exercised as much through bureaucracy as it is through brute force. On the planet Ferrix, we see this at the street level. It's not just violence, it's the endless permits, the constant checkpoints, the feeling of always being watched. This creates a climate of fear and helplessness. And this mirrors Hannah Arendt's concept of the banality of evil, where ordinary people become cogs in an oppressive machine simply by doing their job. Andor shows us that this kind of soul-crushing control, more than any single act of cruelty, is what makes rebellion necessary. But if the oppression is so total, how does anyone fight back? Andor argues that rebellions don't start with a battle, they start with ideas. For much of the show, the resistance is fragmented and ineffective. The key change comes from characters who provide an ideology, a clear structure of beliefs about what's right and wrong with the world and how to fix it. We see this in the young idealist Nemik, who writes a political manifesto on the eve of a major heist. He argues that imperial cruelty isn't a flaw in the system, it's the purpose of the system, and that random acts of defiance are useless without a coordinated movement. But the most powerful example is Marva's final message to the people of Ferrix. She doesn't just call for violence, she calls for them to wake up, to reject the fear the Empire has instilled in them. Her speech is pure political mobilization. It gives the people a shared cause and turns the crowd into a movement. And this mirrors how real-world rebellions have taken shape. In Algeria, the FLN unified a diverse set of anti-colonial factions under a single revolutionary ideology, while in British-ruled India, Gandhi's philosophy of nonviolent resistance gave ordinary people both a strategy and a purpose. In both cases, it's ideas, not weapons, that come first. It's a timeless lesson from political history. Successful resistance always begins with a powerful, unifying idea. And this brings us to the show's most challenging and brilliant theme, the profound moral compromises of political violence. Andor asks a very difficult question. Can you build a better world using ugly methods? This is embodied in the character of Luthen Rael, the shadowy leader who orchestrates the rebellion. In his incredible monologue, Luthen confesses the toll his mission has taken. He says, I'm condemned to use the tools of my enemy to defeat them. I've given up all chance at inner peace. I've made my mind a sunless space. I share my dreams with ghosts. This is the political concept of dirty hands, where a leader must commit morally questionable acts for the greater good. It's a problem that dates back centuries. Machiavelli argued that rulers must sometimes act immorally to preserve the state, while modern thinkers like Michael Walzer describe the painful burden of leadership in a fallen world, doing what's necessary even if it's not morally pure. Luthen sacrifices allies, condemns people to die, and gives up his own humanity, all in service of the rebellion. The show forces us to ask, is it worth it? Andor doesn't give an easy answer, but it realistically portrays the fight for freedom that is often brutal, and that victory can come at an almost unbearable cost. So, what can we learn from all this? Andor's greatest contribution is its realism. It strips away the fantasy of rebellion and replaces it with a gritty, complex political reality. It teaches us that fighting oppression is not always a hero's journey. It's a slow, grinding process that requires more than just hope. It demands organization, shared ideology, and leaders willing to make impossible moral choices. And these aren't just questions for a galaxy far, far away. From Ukraine's resistance to Russian occupation, to the pro-democracy uprisings in Myanmar, to grassroots struggles in places like Sudan and Iran, real-world movements are facing the same brutal calculus. How do you fight injustice without losing your soul in the process? Andor shows us that even in a galaxy far, far away, the mechanics of power are strikingly familiar. The fundamental principle of political science, power, ideology, and the state's monopoly on violence remain the same. It is, without doubt, one of the finest works of political science fiction ever made. Thanks so much for watching our first episode of Small Screen's Big Issues. I'm really excited about this series, and I want to see where it can take us. Next time, we're leaving the world of sci-fi and stepping into the halls of power on planet Earth with the Netflix series The Diplomat to see what it gets right and what it gets wrong about modern foreign policy. Now, I want to hear from you. What do you think of Andor's take on rebellion? And what's another show or film that you think gets political resistance right? Tell me about it in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe for more. I'll see you in the next video.